Hello, friends, and welcome to another episode of the Lauren Muzyka Show and another quick hot take. I'm your host, Lauren Muzyka, founder, president, and CEO of Sidewalk Advocates for Life, the nation's largest sidewalk outreach organization. I also happen to be an attorney, don't hold that against me, and thrilled to use my education now as a human rights advocate. So excited you could join me here for another round. By the way, I'm really wondering, are you loving the show? I would love to hear from you. Please give this podcast a follow. And if you can take a moment to give it a 5-star review, that would be so amazing so that other people can find us. And feel free to drop me a line at lauren@sidewalkadvocates.org. Again, that's lauren@sidewalkadvocates.org. And let me know what you want to hear more of. Who do you want to hear from? What would you like me to cover in the coming weeks? Again, I'd be so excited to have you like, share, follow the show, and drop me a line. It would be so great to hear from you. Okay, let's chat about something that's been really hot in the news. 2 students attended a campaign rally with Democratic presidential nominee Vice President Kamala Harris at the University of Wisconsin-La Crosse, October 17th, 2024, so just a handful of days ago. Luke Pulaski, I believe I said his name right, and Grant Beth, 2 students at the University of Wisconsin-La Crosse, attended the rally, and when Kamala Harris celebrated abortion rights and slammed the overturning of Roe v. Wade, the students yelled out, "Christ is King and Jesus is Lord." And she pretty much stops the rally. She stops her remarks and says with kind of a mocking tone, in fact, waving at them at one point like, "Hello, I'm queen up here, right? Oh, you guys are at the wrong rally. I think you meant to go to the smaller one down the street." And of course, everybody's cheering, right? They don't like these guys yelling this out. But it got worse. Apparently, not only were the 2 students ultimately ejected from the rally, but leading up to that, they said that they were literally abused for their statements countering Harris during the rally. Beth says, "I was pushed by an elderly woman. We were heckled at. We were cursed at. We were mocked. And that's the biggest thing for me personally." So let's go ahead and play that clip now. This is the Kamala Harris rally just a handful of days ago.
Oh, you guys are at the wrong rally. No, I think you meant to go to the smaller one down the street.
Okay, now let's contrast that with GOP vice presidential contender Senator J.D. Vance's recent rally in Wisconsin, which ironically took place just days after this. Someone, while he was talking about the importance of his faith, yells out, "Jesus is King." And Vance takes a very different approach and echoes the attendee in jubilation. So let's check out his rally.
Anti-Christian rhetoric and anti-Christian approach to public policy. I don't think that we've, that's right, Jesus is King, and I don't think that we've seen...
Now, before I comment on all this, I want you to hear from the students themselves who did an interview with Fox News in reaction to what they experienced at the Harris rally. So let's hear from them really quickly.
Luke Pulaski and Grant Beth join us now.
Essentially, she was speaking, and we decided to say, "Christ is King, Jesus is Lord." And we got a lot of backlash. As you can see in that firsthand video, I was pushed by an elderly woman. We were heckled at, we were cursed at, we were mocked. In reflection of the event, Jesus was mocked. His disciples were mocked, and that's okay. In reality, we did God's work, and we were there for the right reasons, and God is watching.
Okay, wow, right? Let me go ahead and frame this out. Recently, Gallup did a poll and simply asked the question, do you believe in God? And 81% said yes. So that means about 8 out of 10 people, and yes, I wish it was higher, but 8 out of 10 people say that they believe in a higher power. And another recent poll says that about 63% of the country identifies as Christian. In other words, the majority of the country calls Christ king as well. So when Kamala Harris claps back at those students and her people eventually remove them from the rally for their sentiments, because, come on, guys, other people are yelling things out. And as long as those students weren't interrupting so much that the rally couldn't continue, there's really no reason they couldn't have remained there. The Harris campaign wasn't just clapping back at them. Consider that she was clapping back at all of us who love life and love God. In other words, she was clapping back at the majority of the country. She sent us a message in that moment that people of faith and conscience really aren't welcome at her rally, that we don't have a place there. And that's unfortunate because Americans from any walk of life should have a seat at the table with the ability to express their faith and point of view in the public square without fear of persecution or repercussion. But I submit to you that this is who Harris is. She's the candidate for the political party whose party platform now offers no mention of God, Lord, or Almighty. No higher power. It was removed on purpose. She openly advocates for abortion until the point of birth. That's what she means when she's giving all these media interviews and she says that she wants to, quote unquote, restore the protections of Roe versus Wade. A lot of Americans don't realize that Roe v. Wade allowed abortion through all 9 months of pregnancy. And if she can do it with our taxpayer dollars, even better. While she served as California Attorney General and then Senator, she openly oppressed people of faith. From attempting to force the Little Sisters of the Poor, a group of nuns, to act against their Catholic faith and provide contraception and abortifacient drugs to its members, to raiding the home of David DeLayden, who exposed the Planned Parenthood baby body part scandal, to introducing legislation that would force Catholic doctors to perform abortions and transgender surgeries. And the list goes on, folks. As the Washington Times says so well, pregnancy termination, aka abortion, has become an obsessive inflection point for the Democratic Party, taking on a sacramental position in progressives' mantras and priority lists. Their platform also speaks extensively about LGBTQ issues, pledging to advance the so-called Equality Act, which many Americans fear will restrict religious liberty and punish Christians for living their faith. Anyone paying attention to the cultural and political winds over the past 15 years shouldn't be surprised by the Democrats' official abandoning of God. The obsessive focus on the impulses and vagaries of the human heart over the eternal has led us to this point with many signposts along the way. In closing, one of the aforementioned students, Grant Beth, said, in reflection of the event, Jesus was mocked. His disciples were mocked, and that's okay. In reality, we did God's work, and we were there for the right reasons, and God is watching us in this moment. Friends, I'm not here today to tell you who to vote for. That's up to you. After all, it's clear that there's no perfect candidate or perfect party, especially this election, right? But for me, it's a simple question. Basic math tells us we're going to get this party or this party. And my question is, which one will be far more likely to save lives and respect our First Amendment rights of conscience, which is paramount to us being able to live out our faith in the public square, help mothers, save preborn children, end abortion, and change culture? For me, it's clear. That's the hot take this week. Thank you again so much for joining me for another episode of the Lauren Muzyka Show. We'll be back here next Friday at 8 a.m. Central, 9 a.m. Eastern on Facebook Live, YouTube, or wherever you get podcasts. Have a great week and see you next week, everyone.